I honestly think he was under a lot of pressure to write Incredibles 2 in a shorter amount of time because he was doing other stuff. I don't know if he did, like, if you had 15 years to do a movie, I think like the sequel was planned. See, that script would have changed a bunch, but I think by the time this movie was starting, I think he had a lot of extra hands in that script.
If he had 15 years to write it himself, it would have been a masterpiece.
Yeah.
That would not be touched by anything ever. Yeah. But you're right. I think there were definitely some hands in the pot.
Yeah.
Influencing it.
Like, it was still good. I'm probably going to watch it soon.
Yeah.
I just think the problem is the promotion of the movie and the merchandise, because Jack, they didn't age the characters. Because I remember like mid 2000s, I think we talked about this. Like, man, what are they going to do if they do a sequel? Like, are they going to age him up? Like, is Dash going to be like 17 instead of like 9?
Right.
Or like 8? I don't even know how old he is. I think he's in like grade 3 or 4. But then I think Jack, they needed to. Jack was everywhere.
Yeah.
And he was a heavy part of the film. I think that kind of distracted some of the storytelling because they wanted to fit all this Jack stuff in.
Right.
It was still good, but I think it slowed the movie's real potential.
I think so too.
Doing funny bits for kids.
That's it.
Because Jack was just violent and Dash's distraction.
Right.
Like, they didn't really have much to do. Like, Dash's schoolwork was a fun thing with his dad. Like, him dealing with math.
Yes, yeah.
And all that stuff. Like,
math is math.
Math is math. Why do they change math? Which I totally agree with.
Yep.
But him being Mrs. Incredible for this movie and she getting to be the spotlight, I think was a great dynamic.
Absolutely.
I just think Jack was sometimes the weak point, as well as the villain being a real weak point.
Right. Yes.
Screenslaver.
They
don't have anything to do with the characters. Like, they're not a major, like, just putting the goggles on and making them evil isn't really anything when they could just be removed. There's no stakes that our main heroes have with this villain. She works for this other guy.
Right. I think the true pull for The Incredibles is that idea of family. So putting the stakes into the family dynamic, I think, is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, maybe we'll have to, we don't want to rehash it exactly, but I mean,
they did have the kids save the parents.
Yes. So they kind of like, swapped things a little bit, but I feel like
I think it could have been done with, like, in a totally different way.
Yeah.
Without the use of, like, the screen slave. Like, I think it was a message of, like, everybody's a slave to their screens.
Sure, but why put that in a movie about
don't put
family?
That in the movie. Because you could have had the kids. It's tough because they already did the family saving Bob in the first movie. Like, making him realize family is everything.
Yeah. So
they just use this as a way to having the kids save the parents because they're not really in danger, but they're... You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? They're not actual villains.
Right.
They're not villains to themselves. Like, if they had their own problems.
Yeah.
But they've already passed all those problems in the first movie. There's something there.
You know what would have been really cool is if Bob and Helen met this, like, not like cult, but like we're starting to get influenced in some way that was steering them away from being supers. Right. And it was putting other people in jeopardy, or it was just putting a big strain on the family, and they were trying to convince the kids to do the same thing. And the kids were like, this doesn't seem right. Like, what's going on here? And they have to kind of figure it out, and they have to then convince their parents and save their parents from this, like, this massive shift that would destabilize the family, right? Then it's the kids still saving the parents, but it's actually putting a strain on their relationships. I don't know. Right. Rather than it being like, the screens, whatever.
There could have been two other ways to do it.
Yeah.
I think one of the ways, if you were to age everybody up,
yep,
and have the family go their separate ways, like Violet goes off to college.
Yes.
Dash is in high school. He doesn't really care. Like, have that, age them up to have a more adult story of kid problems,
Yeah.
and family problems and the stresses of that.
Mhm.
Or you make Lucius somehow the villain.
Ooh.
You manipulate him in a way that he has to betray his friends.
Yeah, he's caught.
So they get brought in. Like, he lets them down and then say they're battling their own family.
Yes.
Something like that.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Something. It was already, the movie's already out. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But there was something there that I think they could have really made it worthy of, give it the punch that the first one had.
Yep.